Okay, so I think we can kick off and let's see who will come in. I'm very excited to speak to you all today. My name is Mao Makatangay, and I'm going to be the MC for the IRF Young Professional Summit under the framework of the IRF Annual Conference. If you have any questions, please feel free to write it in the Q&A box in our chat below. And if you want to connect with other people, please feel free to use the chat box. So again, if you have any questions, go to the Q&A box, and if not, please just use the chat. So the session is going to be about empowering the next generation of road users. And we have a very incredible lineup of speakers. But before we get to that, we want to have a little icebreaker. So I'm going to pass on the virtual mic to Tendekay Marapara, one of our young professional leaders. Over to you, TK.
Thanks, Mao. Hello, everyone. Welcome. So we're gonna start with a Menti. If you have your phone, just use your phone to scan that QR code, or you can go straight to www.menti.com and use the code 82362789. So I'll give you like a minute to sort out this, and then we'll dive into our first question. So our first question is, what comes to your mind when you think of safer, cooler, and greener roads? Just type your answers, what you think, what comes in your mind. Yes, see bicycles, autonomous vehicles. That's a good one. Keep them coming. Walkable cities, yes. Need people to stay active. Yeah, low carbon transport, pedestrian walkways. Yeah, that's a good one. I see it's mostly walking, cycling, being active, and yeah, okay, that's good. We can move on to the next one. So, the second question is, in your view, what are the most important transformations for road infrastructure in the next 10 years? What do you think? Yes, autonomous vehicles. That's a must. Mhm. Managing material shortages. Okay, yes. Digital and connected, same as autonomous. Smart cities, safe walking and cycling. Yeah, it should be safe. Remember the goal, 50 by 30, and after 10 years it will be 2035. So we should be aiming for better. Yeah, zero deaths, yes. Decap, of course, yes, we need that. People first instead of vehicles. Um, yeah, multimodalism. Yeah, wow, fantastic answers. We can move on to the next one. So, what should make a career in road transport exciting and meaningful for young professionals? Just type whatever you think applies to you. Ah, Public participation, women in safety. All right. Yeah, we need more women in safety. Youth voices, public participation, entry roles. Oh, all right. That's a new one. Making visible impacts, gender equity. Oh, youth-led scholarships. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We should see more of those. Yeah, collaboration. We need to collaborate more to have a stronger force. Um, yeah, that's some interesting answers. Thank you so much for participating, and I'll pass on to the next speaker. Thanks. I hope you enjoy.
Thank you, TK. That's over to me again. So thank you everyone for taking part in the Mentimeter, and it was absolutely wonderful to see your responses. I think it's safe to say that everyone has really high hopes for the future of transport and mobility, especially around involving, young people and even women based on that Mentimeter. So thank you everyone for participating. So to officially start things off, I'd like to call on to the virtual stage Alice Yu, our Head of Advocacy and Outreach, to give the opening remarks. Over to you, Alice.
Thank you very much, Mao, and thank you very much, TK, for this really interesting exercise just to get everybody's views about what they think sustainable road or the future of roads should be. I really enjoyed catching some of the comments just now. I think it really reflects the variety of thinking and opinion that we're gathering in today's audience. Um, some of you may have attended our opening sessions yesterday. This year, as we speak about reimagining roads for inclusive, safe, green, and efficient mobility, which is our main theme for our conference, it is impossible not to reflect on the role of young people in shaping that future. And I think just now through the Mentimeter, we're seeing why this is happening, right? Young professionals, you guys experience mobility systems differently. You see firsthand how safe, reliable, and affordable transport affects access to education, to jobs and opportunities. You also feel the consequences when road systems fall short, whether through unsafe roads, weak connectivity, or barriers that limit social and economic participation. So when we talk about sustainable roads, we're really talking about systems that shape young people's lives today and the systems that you will inherit tomorrow. And I think that is why your presence here matters so much deeply to IRF. And around the world, young leaders are also already pushing the boundaries of what road sector can be. I know that many of you are bringing new thinking on design and safety, new approaches to data, or developing new automation and digital tools, or maybe you have a new way to look into construction materials or maintenance or resilience, or maybe you have a strong sense of purpose that is tied to climate, to equity, or community well-being. But let's face it, you're joining the road sector. You're joining a sector that is not easy to transform. It's complex, it's capital intensive, and oftentimes quite slow to change. But it's also a sector where innovation can create enormously broad impact. And we're seeing that energy coming from young professionals. And the IRF really believed in that potential for a very long time. Our Young Professionals Program was created to ensure that emerging leaders have access to networks, mentorship, and global visibility. So over the years, we have watched young professionals take on different roles in research, in public policies, in engineering, operations, and advocacy. And many of you are now shaping national strategies, leading projects, founding startups, or guiding the next wave of innovation. And this program has really grown into a global community, and we're really proud of the leadership that has emerged from it. To tell you a little secret, well, actually, it's not really a secret, but our Director General, RF's current Director General, Gonzalo Alcaraz, he initially joined RF through the Young Professionals Program as well. And now he's leading our organization. I think that really speaks a lot about the potentials and the opportunities that this program could offer. I'm not saying that y'all could, be the director general, but I think that he is like the poster child now for this young professionals program. So joking aside, but during today's summit, we're kicking off today's session. Right now, you're going to hear from young researchers, innovators, advocates, and practitioners who are already contributing solutions in their fields. And you will hear how youth are rethinking safety, how digital skills and new tools are being applied in real contexts, and how passionate early career professionals are bringing new values into our sector. I want to encourage you to use the space fully to share experiences, to ask questions, and to connect with one another. The road sector needs your ideas, but it also needs your conviction, your creativity, and your ambition. And you're not here to watch the future unfold, right? You're here to help, already helping to shape it. So thank you very much for joining us again here today. Thank you to all of our speakers and facilitators who's making the Young Professional Summits possible. And I look forward to the discussions ahead and to seeing many of you continue to grow through our program. Thank you very much. Now back to you, Mao. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alice. And really great way to sum up, how IRF as well views young professionals and the hope we have for the emerging leaders on how we can shape, transport and mobility together. I've had the pleasure of connecting with some of the speakers that we have now. And if I haven't connected with them, I've read about them, read about their work, and I must say you guys are in for an absolute treat. So we're going to be starting our session with three incredible speakers first, and it's going to be about the voices from emerging leaders. So that's the overall framework of this session, of this part of it at least. So our first speaker is Olanica Christiana Babalola, and she is a PhD researcher for the Center of Housing and Sustainable Development from the University of Lagos, and she is also a SLOCAT BREF Young Leader. So she's going to be talking to us about her work, and you're going to be learning about Frey from her. So that's really interesting. We have Ali Reza Soltani, a PhD candidate from Transport Lab, the University of Sydney. And we have Daniela Gomez, Capacity Development Manager of Yours Youth for Road Safety. So these young professionals are going to be walking us through what they've done in the road and mobility sector so far, and it's going to be encompassing safety, infrastructure, and research. So I'd like to begin by calling on Miss Olanica Christiana Babalola for her presentation. You're on mute, Olanica, just in case. Sorry, it happens.
Okay, thank you, Mao. Thank you, Alice. I was really excited to hear about the director also starting as a young leader. Good day, everyone from around the world. So I'm speaking to my ongoing research on moving goods and building resilience. That's a new blueprint for Lagos State, Nigeria. And of course, most of the first focus of transportation development or infrastructure, sustainability has always been on passenger transport, which I've also participated in modeling and all. But, at some point, I also looked at it that, okay, what's happening to the freight sector? And, freight is also a major, driver of economic activities in the country. And then recently, my research focuses on the Lagos port in Apapa, and Lagos State, Nigeria has a growing population of over 20 million. And now recently we had logistics, freight transport movement, challenges, gridlocks, and then that led to disruption of economic activities around the country, and this actually shows the importance of freight movement in the state, and how it affects socio-economic and sustainability in the sector. So can I go to the next slide? Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, the Lagos State freight, urban fabrics is dominated by road freight. We have about over 5,000 trucks operation in the state. I mean, and the port is very congested. It's indeed, it paralyzes and damages infrastructure, because of the volume of these truckers and their activities. Meanwhile, we actually have the operation of other modes, which is like the inland waterways, there's the barges and the rail. But currently, because of, there are no infrastructural development, so the operations is quite minimal, and then also they are also cost effective. And so this has led to the high emissions and earth toll in the state, like as depicted here. And currently, we're looking at how there can be partnership, both international collaborations to you can come up with policies, to actually drive decarbonization of the states, particularly with focus to the freight sector, of the whole transport system, and how to also look at framing up the transport master plan. So because there's actually a very rapid urbanization in Lagos State, as the major state economic hub in Nigeria, and there's a growing mismatch, between the this increasing demand, and the system that is not, yet put together. So can I go to the next slide? All right. So from my ongoing research, we had assessing the actors in the sector, some of the demand of the policymakers and even the operators in the sector as being logistics efficiency, which is like priority, because having road as a dominant mode of movement of goods actually also affects efficient delivery because of insecurity. That has to do with the activities of these area boys, hoodlums, disrupting the movement of trucks, attacking the drivers or the goods. And then also we're looking at how to also, the safety and security of this sector. These are the major concerns of the actors, the logistics actors and stakeholders. Then the key things are the infrastructural development. We need the connection of the rail networks in Lagos, to the other, long haul transport, the other part of the country, that's the northern part of the country. These are like, there need to be an infrastructural development that connects the rail network to as far as those parts of the country. So this will help decongest the city center. Then also the major focus of the research is to assess how the freight system can facilitate sustainability and
Hey everyone, I think we may have lost Olanika for now. I think it's her network, and it's okay. I mean, it happens, but so far she has given incredible tidbits of her research. Traits are often, you know, not considered, or they are often second knowledge when we're talking about safety. So it's really interesting what she's doing to bring attention to how these operations are bringing food and other economic needs to the community, talking about its issues as well as ensuring they're safe. It's really good. So thank you, Alanika, for sharing that for now. And we really hope you can come back to us soon. And for everyone who has any questions for Alanika, please feel free to input it in the Q&A section or write a chat and to call out to her. So to continue, I'd like to call on Alireza Soltani from the University of Sydney. So he is going to be talking about, how transport leaders are turning to research. So I won't spoil it much, but over to you, Ali.
Thank you, Molly, for the introduction. Hi, I'm Ali Reza Soltani from University of Sydney. We are working in Transport Lab. And the project I'm assigned to is Distributed Autonomous Vehicles at Intersection Networks. That's the title. What we believe is that AVs are going to be a great part of future networks, as even today you can see Waymo fleet is running in the streets in many states in the US. And most of them are working on a system that designed for human drivers. They have to follow the signals, the lanes, the intersection designed for human drivers as well. And for over a decade, there are designs for central controllers helping them to just move forward and neglect the signal at the intersection. I mean, red light, green light, everything, anything. And there are designs for central controllers that let them know when to pass and which trajectory to choose. Or there is other field of research that trying to help vehicles come to an understanding and to solution with communication, talking to each other, try to solve some sort of optimization to cross the intersection. What we believe is that for making autonomous vehicles able to navigate in our streets in the future and actually exploiting all the advantages they can deliver to us, we need to make them as independent as possible. And one of the things that keeping them from being really independent is the communication, because communication is some sort of liability. We believe that in the future there are going to be multiple manufacturers. They are all having their own design. Maybe communication even couldn't be an option in the future. They cannot communicate in the way that we assume they can in research. So designing systems that can help them decide on their own and moving navigating the network would be the thing we are currently working on. In the next slide, we are seeing my very first research. We designed an algorithm that capable of helping an intersection that all the users are AV. If we be able to have the video play, we can see there is a fleet of AV. They are all following an algorithm that we designed and we named communication free distributed control algorithm for autonomous vehicles at intersection, and we call it CFDCA. The thing is, in low demand, we try to exploit all the gaps available. I mean, not we, the communication-free distributed system, which is internally runs in each vehicles. So each of them, they are only reliant on their sensors. They detect other vehicles' position and speed, and by only getting that information in their detection range, they be able to start doing some process to understand who's getting priority and who has to cross the intersection. In low demand, we are exploiting the gaps, but the issue of efficiency is mostly in high demand when if vehicles acting selfishly, they all want to cross as soon as possible. So we lose efficiency very much as of the designs like first come first serve are showing that we can have a very good system in terms of delay in low demand with something as simple as first come first serve, but merging platoons in the system is not something that we are capable of. So in CFDCA we merge the platooning by letting vehicles decide that, okay, the intersection they are facing with is congested enough or to letting the queues discharge or not. And we also taking care of fairness. So if a vehicle is stopped for a long time and they get bored, for example, they can get the priority. And this was our first project that we, as of my knowledge, we made the first communication-free algorithm for autonomous vehicles at intersections. But as you can see, we are still having lane disciplines. But before going forward, in the next slide, I would like to show you in our team in Transport Lab, we are having robocars, reduced scale vehicles that we are using as autonomous vehicles in our lab. And we implemented the CFDCA in a simple form to just check how would they work in a real life. One of the interesting situation that we had was the lag and latency because we have sensors on the car and sensors, it takes time for them to get the data, process data, and make decision. But this is a work which is going on, and in next phase, hopefully we can uh, have the tests in a real world autonomous vehicles test bed. And then in the next project that which is a work in progress, we try to give more freedom, even a communication free system without signal at intersection, and there is no lane discipline. We try to design a individual controller for each vehicle to be able to navigate, avoid collision, and cross intersection in mixed traffic situation. So if we see the first video, we are going to see 8 vehicles from 4 directions. They are all intended to turn left. They just approach the intersection. They see the situation. They try to optimize their cost and cross the intersection. And in the second video, we can see that there are vehicles working based on IDM for car following and crossing intersection based on first come first serve, and there are some vehicle which you can see with the predicted trajectory, I mean outcome of the controller. They try to navigate in the mixed traffic environment, and the design is based on an internal MPC, distributed MPC. As you can see, the cost function above. The cost function is not something extraordinary. Most of the terms are usual terms in the world of MPC for intersections, but we had to add some energy costs based on the distance between two vehicles to tell the control vehicles, okay, intersection is it's very under heavy usage, so you don't need to go and find a gap to exploit. So you have to slow down and wait for a safer situation to cross. And this is the work that we are trying to finish as soon as possible. And then hopefully the next phase would be implementing it in our test beds with the robocars. And I think that was my presentation for today. Thank you so much.
Thank, thank you so much, Ali. That was a really interesting topic. And I was actually listening intently because it's amazing how far we've come when we're talking about autonomous vehicles. But from your presentation, I understand that, autonomous vehicles and, these robo cars cannot, operate on their own if we don't have V2X, like vehicle to everything communication. We need road infrastructure. We need digital infrastructure that can also support these developments. And I'm really excited that a young person is leading research to advance these kinds of development. So thank you so much, Ali.
No worries.
So we have Olanika back on the panel. We lost you a few minutes back, and I think it's because of the network, which happens. But if you'd like, you can still have about, 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes to finish up. I think we left off where you were talking about ensuring the safety of freights because they were under, some attacks from hoodlums. So if you could continue from that point, that would be really great.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm so sorry for that glitch. Okay, yes, let me rush up in 3 minutes. So, like I was saying, then decarbonization is the focus of the research because when the freight system, transportation is a major contributor to, the carbon emission. And to a large extent, it is man-made pollution, to the environment. And this research is trying to look at how, through partnership and research can put up policies, that can drive decarbonization of the system, in different phases, and also be incorporated into the transport master plan for the state. So some of the key findings made me, come into conclusions that the first attempt to these decarbonization strategies, the first efforts to be pushed to the stakeholders and the policymakers would be the integration of the road, the waterways, and the rail system. So, and that's at least there should be major operations of that's a combination of modes for the operations, and even to a large extent using more than one mode, at least 3 modes to move freight, So this also helps the congestion on the road to reduce, which will also help emission, because the rate of the emission through trucks is pretty much higher than the other modes. And of course, to a large extent, this is actually already in practice in Lagos State through the development of the Lekki Deep Sea Port. So in planning the deep sea port, the infrastructural development had it was factored in to have dedicated lane for truckers around the port areas. So this helps the congestion and then traffic gridlock. And then we also have the ETO system, that's the electronic traffic movement into the port. You understand? And this also helps the planning. So can I go to the last slide? So some of the drivers, for cleaner and more efficient freight system in Lagos is the integrated networks. Like I said, the upgrade of the roads, because some of the challenges of the truckers interviewed were bad roads, and then also the upgrade of the waterway system. That's development of more that's ports, infrastructure development for birch, where to birth them around the port area, so there can be diverse access to goods by the freight actors. So then incentivize the clean modes. That's because some of the challenges of the logistics actors are that moving to other modes is more cost if intensive for them, and they accept they would have to be out of the business, which is not what they envisage. So they're looking at how partnership, government policies can drive, bring about incentives that can help them migrate to other modes or combine other modes for their businesses. And then also in some cases, the big actors in the sector actually are piloting more sustainable fuel, or by using maybe LNG powered trucks. But then that is just like a very little percentage of the actors in the sector. So then also to manage the system, that's to enforce and expand the ETO, that's the electronic call-up system at the port area. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Alanika. That was a lovely wrap up because you started with the overview, you presented a problem, you presented the situation, and now what has to be done. And, living from a developing country myself, I do agree that different sectors need to work together in order to meet the needs of people like our truck drivers, of freight operators. So thank you very much. And we appreciate you taking the effort to come back to the session despite the network errors. So thank you. And Last but not least, we are moving, from the phrase system, from digital, and from research onto safety. And we are going to have now Laura Daniela Gomez from Yours Youth for Road Safety to talk about how they are empowering young people to make changes for road safety and sustainable mobility. Over to you, Danny.
Thank you, Mao, and hi, everyone. It's really amazing to see this technical research that has been done by the previous speaker. So congrats on that. And I'm going to touch on a slightly different topic, but it's still very relevant. But first of all, we, on behalf of yours, would like to congratulate Mr. Gonzalo Alcaraz for his appointment as Director General and thank the IRF for the opportunity to share today what is yours doing to work with youth towards safer and more sustainable mobility systems worldwide. So let's go to the first slide, please. If we talk about youth engagement, we have to talk about yours, Youth for Road Safety. We are a unique global organization driven by a powerful mission that is having a world where no one, especially young people, dies or is seriously injured in road traffic crashes, and where youth can play an active role in shaping safer and more equitable, more sustainable mobility systems. We believe that lasting change happens only when youth voices are heard and included at the decision-making tables. Since 2009, we have united and supported youth, and we have had some impact, as you can see in the slide. We have directly reached around 119,000 people through our projects. We have influenced 17 governments to advance policy change. We have trained over 6,000 young people and stakeholders, and we have earned 5 awards. And we have built multiple partnerships that has helped us get closer to our mission of transforming mobility systems with the power of youth. And we have become experts over the years. We have become experts in youth engagement by designing innovative events such as the second and third World Youth Assemblies for road safety. We have also developed award-winning training methodologies, and we have fostered continuous dialogue between young people and governments to make mobility systems truly safe and sustainable. In the next slide, you will be able to see some highlights from one of our most renowned projects, which is the Global Youth Coalition for Road Safety that was initiated in 2020. The coalition basically unites young people 15 to 35 years old from all over the world that are committed to achieving safer and more sustainable mobility systems. We seek to providing the members of the coalition with different opportunities that can contribute to their personal and professional growth. So we basically work based on 3 areas. But I'm highlighting 2 mainly because those are the ones that we are focusing more now. So first area is capacity development, and with capacity development, we implement online and in-person training activities for young people. We, for example, online, we offer live sessions, and we also offer discounted access to the Yours Academy, which is our online learning platform that is youth-friendly and brain-friendly as well. And we recently implemented a TOT program that was this year, actually. And this training of trainers program demonstrated impact in the participants' professional and personal lives. For example, we were able to account that the trainers increased at least 40% their soft skills after the program. And you can also see there that, for example, the Yours Academy, our online platform, is rated 4.8 out of 5. So we always try to offer high quality programs and content for young people. The second area of work is youth leadership. we basically give our members of the coalition the opportunity to join different leadership structures within the coalition. We have two currently. And we also provide some seed funding that we basically on an annual basis offer to members of the coalition. We, since 2021, have selected 15 youth projects yearly to for winners or young people to implement their projects locally. Through your guidance, we offer technical support, and we also connect these youth with mentors from their cities or countries, just to ensure their projects are successfully implemented and they have all the support they need. These programs have a concrete impact in local realities, and I'm actually going to share a little bit about that. But I would like to also mention the third area of work within the coalition, and it is advocacy. And through advocacy, we have developed basically tools such as the advocacy toolkit and policy briefs, so young people have the key information and the resources they need whenever they are going to talk with decision makers. So now I'm going to share about my experience, and in the next slide, you will be able to see a little bit of what was done through a couple local actions projects I implemented a few years ago. So if we can go to the next slide, please. Awesome, thank you. And so basically, I'm currently part of or a member or staff of yours, but previously I was a member of the coalition, so I had the opportunity actually to implement two local actions projects and also one project under the Impact Generator Challenge call for applications. And I can tell that these three projects really helped me strengthen my management skill, my project management skills, grow my leadership, and find opportunities to interact with decision makers in my city. I am from Bogota, Colombia, so I had the opportunity to um, um, have like conversations and discuss with the mobility secretary or the city mayor, but by that time, who was Claudia Lopez, and two other young peoples. Also, I had the opportunity to share experiences. So basically, the first project that was implemented in 2020 was mainly virtual because of the pandemic, of course. And one of the main, let's say, or the highlights of these projects came from a survey with more than 1,000 submissions from young people. Their answers basically confirmed that young people in Bogota felt they have a key role in achieving safer roads. They wanted to be more involved in road safety and sustainable mobility activities. So that was really insightful from the project in 2021, in 2020. In 2021, I implemented a second project that basically provided support to members of the recently created bicycle board in Bogota. So one of the achievements was that we implemented some capacity development activities to offer the members of the bicycle board with updated knowledge about road safety and sustainable mobility. And we also provided some of them with seed funding for them to implement local activities as well. During this project, we also drafted a proposal of a local regulation that I have to say that after a couple years, actually last year, bear some fruits because it was actually part of it like incorporated to the city development plan. So you can see that these projects have, a continuous or a sustained impact. And lastly, the third project I had the opportunity to implement in 2022 focused on improving cycling conditions with a gender focus. So basically, one of the key activities we did was a mapping activity on the bicycle infrastructure in Bogota with other female cyclists. I am a female cyclist as well. So we basically did this mapping of unsafe areas. And this mapping led to the improvement of one specific spot that had issues both on road safety and personal security conditions. So through our conversations with different secretariats and like authorities in the city, we were able to move some improvements for this particular spot that we mapped. So this is just an example on how yours projects are currently opening the door to young leaders like me to lead in road safety and sustainable mobility solutions. So I really would like to invite everyone here to become a member of the Global Youth Coalition for Road Safety. And yeah, as yours, we look forward to joining efforts with more youth, with more governments, and with stakeholders that share the same vision of transforming mobility systems with the power of youth. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Danny. That was wonderful, and it's nice to see these slides about your experience as well. I think this circles back really well to what Alice was saying. You know, as young people, we are not just participating in the mobility systems; we are actually building it. And yours offers a really good foundation for how you can get started if you want to get into the road and mobility sector. So that's really interesting. I do echo Danny's message to come and join them so that you can get the knowledge you need to become part of the sector. So we welcome that. Thank you so much, Danny. And that wraps up our first session for like the panel, but there's another one coming. The next speakers are going to be presented by IRF Young Professionals leader Shashank Misra, and they're going to be talking about their experiences in the transport and mobility sector. And this one's really exciting, everyone. So if you have any questions at all, even for the previous speakers, please feel free to drop them into the Q&A box. So I'm going to hand over to Shashank. And thank you once again to our speakers. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Mal. So first of all, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to any and everyone from wherever you are tuned into this. This is the fourth edition where we are doing this, so it's quite exciting. So again, hi, and I'm the IRF lead for projects. Over the last couple of years, we've had several conversations ranging from autonomous mobility, green mobility, active mobility. So yeah, it's an exciting time to be a lot of good presentations just before us, where we're seeing how vehicles are trying to navigate themselves and what kind of reward systems or cost systems are in place. And with that, I would like to introduce the panel today. So we have Ms. Jamie Harrison, who's a senior professional at NTRO. We have Miss Linda Lim. She is doing her PhD in systems engineering from UC Berkeley, and she has a really interesting thesis and dissertation that she's working on. We have Miss Olivia Nalwada, who's an Africa region advisor for FIA Foundation. And then last but not the least, it's Ray, and I'm not going to give him a full formal introduction because he's also a fellow IRF lead with me. So I'd appreciate if all of you can just say a good quick hi, starting your screen, and we can maybe go around the room uh, across all our panelists to talk about what excites them these days and a quick insight into their experience as a young professional in the space. Perhaps you can start with Jamie.
Thank you. Hi, Shashank. Yeah, great to be here, despite the late hour here in Melbourne, Australia. So I work with NTRO, the National Transport Research Organisation. In Australia, we also work in New Zealand a little bit, Pacific Islands, and more recently India. But yeah, I'm in our sustainability and materials performance team, so I get to work a lot with recycled materials like circular economy, sort of work, decarbonisation, innovation. Occasionally, I get to go in the lab, so I always like to do that. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Thanks, Amy, for the quick intro. And sorry that you have to tune in so late. It's day ending at my end, and I'm already sleepy, so I can't imagine for you. Um, let's go to Linda. Linda, can you have a quick introduction and walk us through what you're doing?
Yeah, hi everybody. Yeah, it's really early where I am right now, so I appreciate being here with you all today. So yeah, I'm a PhD candidate at UC Berkeley. I currently am in the systems engineering department, and currently we're researching on autonomous vehicle systems, how we can make them more safe, but also looking into the policies. And so I've been working a lot with the San Francisco Research Center for Transportation, stands for Partners for Advanced Transportation Technology. But happy to be here and answer any of your questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Linda. I think we'll go next to Miss Olivia. Hi, Olivia. Could you do a quick introduction for all of us here?
Hi, thank you. I'm Oliver Narada from the Pearl of Africa, Uganda. Anyone who has not been to Uganda, please visit. Currently, I work with the FIA Foundation as the Africa Regional Advisor, and I support programs on the continent that have to do with safe journeys to school, motorcycle helmet safety, walking and cycling, name it all. I'm passionate about road safety and safe mobility all around. And right now, I'm also still doing, I've started my PhD in public health. So looking forward to interacting with the other peers who are already ahead in that journey. Thank you.
Thanks, Olivia. Now over to you, Ray. A quick introduction for our audience here.
Hi, Shashank. Yes, thank you very much. So my name is Ray Adrian Macalalag. I recently graduated my Master of Transport from the University of Sydney, and I came back to the Philippines earlier last year, and I'm currently working as a Senior Economic Development Specialist of the Department of Economic Planning and Development. So it's a government agency. Thank you.
Thanks, Ray. I will mention what I've been up to. So I'm Shashank and a founder and CEO at Ekak Innovations, which is a startup working in India, a bootstrap startup working in deep tech. So we've been working in road safety, looking at edge case, vehicle-to-vehicle communication, looking at road safety, getting that data sets in and understanding how you would look at road safety in an environment that doesn't even have lane markings, right? So that's some of the use cases and challenges that we've been looking at. Happy to be here with all of you, and I look forward to an engaging conversation. I would say I'd start off with Jamie. Jamie, based on your experiences on the stuff that you've been working on, I would like to understand how advancements in material, like right now, we are seeing a lot of conversation around sustainable material being used in road infrastructure. Like India last year used, I think, about 90,000 tons of plastic waste in road highway development. What is the advancements in materials and alternate materials that's happening that could probably excite the young professionals here to look at road safety and sustainability on the infra side?
Thank you. Yeah, great question. So as I mentioned before, the organization I work with is a research organization, but oftentimes our clients are I guess state agencies and asset owners. So we sort of have to ensure that the innovations that we work on are able to actually be really implemented. So a lot of the time we sort of start with understanding, whether there's a specific waste stream or a specific challenge that the road agency is facing. We've worked with a lot of different sort of stockpiles of waste. Oftentimes it'll be plastic or glass. Construction and demolition waste is a really big thing as well. So concrete, recycled or reclaimed asphalt pavement as well is one of the big materials that we work with. But yeah, it's really critical, I suppose, in our research to, as well as conduct that research, also make sure that we're, developing appropriate standards and specifications so that people can actually, have the guidance and the support to really implement a lot of those materials. So that's sort of sometimes the biggest challenge is making sure it sort of fits within the scope of the performance that the asset agency or the asset owner, is really seeking to achieve with their pavements. And sometimes materials innovations can be really exciting in terms of resilience as well. We work a lot in the climate space in Australia as well, sort of, preparing for climate impacts. And oftentimes that might be, working on data-driven tools that can kind of give us insights into the climate risks that we're going to be facing in Australia, but sometimes that's also a material solution as well. So there's certain technologies like foam bitumen pavements that have been really great for stabilization of pavements in the face of flooding events, which is a pretty sort of critical climate challenge that we have in Australia a lot of the time is really extreme flooding events. So being able to sort of integrate some of those material innovations into a way that's actually going to be beneficial for the climate resilience is also really key. But yeah, I think that's a little bit of a start from me.
Oh, thanks, Jamie. I'd like to go to Ray next. Ray, based on what you heard from Jamie and your experience as a policymaker, I'm pretty sure probably your organization is one of the folks that would reach out to NTRO, right? So, what would you look at as a decision maker or as someone who's in that space, who evaluates infrastructure projects, who understands what kind of you have that horizon for the next 5 years as to what you want to achieve in public transport. So how do you evaluate when a project's come to you or when someone comes to you with, let's say, a research initiative, or this is something we can try? If you could give me some insights into that.
Thank you, Shashank. Well, if you would look at it like for a low middle income country like the Philippines, innovation is there, like the the ideas are there, but primarily one of the hurdles that we have for a low middle income country, and I think most people would also agree from low middle income country backgrounds, that it's really the investment that is coming in for new ideas. So it's usually for the low middle income countries, it has to be very feasible and it has to have like a high benefit cost ratio for us to really like fund projects. And we have to make sure that these projects will have long-term benefits, not just like for the short term, because that has to be sensitive. For example, over the past few years, we had road widening projects, for example, and it has been an agenda of the government. And we have now seen that, you have to also maintain these roads. So you have to consider these kinds of factors, not just thinking of it in a 4 or 5 years term. Now, one hurdle that we have as well in the Philippines right now is the modernization of our public transportation. And it has to be something that has to have a lot of buy-in for people who will invest in public transportation. I've been in Australia and I'm not really sure if it's correct, but correct me if I'm wrong. But like, for example, in New South Wales, they have about 75% of the transport fare being subsidized by government, or percentage of it is being subsidized by the government. Whereas here in the Philippines, for example, it has to be invested on, like the buses, the fleet management systems. So all of these costs are being borne by the companies that operate. And eventually, these costs, of course, have to be passed on to those who commute. So it's really a mix of how to attract people, for example, to use public transportation over cars, because it has to be comfortable as well. And then it has to also be as affordable. So we are like, we are doing a quick balance of these things here in government and in our perspective.
Sure, thanks, Ray, for that. I think you've hit a point there which talks about how you're balancing that approach and balancing maybe private players, public transport, and the investments on that. So I'd like to go to Olivia next and try and understand where do you think are challenges in funding such an initiative from a public-private initiative or from a government spending lens or just a complete private investment, right? And how do you look at fundraising road infra? And typically, since you're working in road safety, right? So what are the hurdles that you face there in getting funded for it? Finding funding for it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Funding is the big elephant in the room for all different sectors, but especially for the sector of road safety and sustainable mobility, because despite road traffic crashes being the number one killer in most countries and globally the number one killer of young people, it's often not prioritized in national agendas, regional agendas. And this starts the ripple effect of lack of prioritization of interventions in averting road traffic crashes, but also in putting the necessary systems and structures in place. At the FIA Foundation, we recognize that road traffic crashes are a wicked problem. That means it's a problem we cannot solve in isolation. Despite being philanthropists, but also we admit that this is a problem we cannot solve in a blink of an eye. So for the last 24 years, we've been supporting through catalytic funding in establishment of different agencies. For example, we supported the establishment of the World Bank Global Road Safety Partnership, as well as the UN Road Safety Fund. And our reasoning behind this was this is a collective pool of funding that can help spark innovation in the different countries, but also create a ripple effect by enabling what we call pilot projects or demonstration projects in the different countries. As the foundation, when we are looking at our priorities for investment, we ask ourselves two big questions. Who is most affected, and where are the gaps? And guided by those two questions, we have about 5 priority areas, or you can call them thematic areas, that not only guide our investment globally, but also guide the partnerships that we seek, be it implementation partnerships or financing partnerships, and also they guide the policies that we influence across the different regions. I'll give an example of the shortage of funding when it comes to safe and healthy journeys for all. Here we are working with partners such as IRF on award-winning initiatives, including the star rating. This is a evidence-based initiative, and this is an initiative that has been introduced to so many countries, but being from Africa, I'll give an example of the African region. Countries are interested, governments are interested when they are presented with an idea, but when it comes to actually putting the money behind this idea, that's when you hear crickets. And that is the other big challenge we face on the continent. I'll speak through mainly the African lens. It's easy for us to sign to commitments, but not as easy to commit budgets. Our role as the FIA Foundation is through partners like IRAP, have these demonstration projects, work collaboratively with governments to show them what works, how make a business case for these initiatives, and that way mobilize more interest in terms of making financial commitments. When you look at safe system interventions such as the car crash testing, the speed management, this is another example of proven initiatives that are still lagging behind, not because they don't work, we clearly know they work, but because the investments that countries are choosing to make is far behind than the need on ground. I'll give an example of one of the initiatives we are now working on, that is the Safe African Helmet Initiative, as well as the Safe Helmets for the Asian Pacific region. Motorcycle-related crashes are on the rise. In Uganda, power two-wheelers are the #1 contributor to our road traffic death statistic. And yet, when you look at the transport budget that is allocated to avert this issue, it's less than 1%. As the FIA Foundation, we've supported, for example, the government of Rwanda to put up the first helmet impact testing lab on the continent. And the beauty of this, how it lines with financing, is other countries have seen what is possible when you put together a helmet impact testing lab, and how it motivates importers, private investors, and other government stakeholders to not only come and ensure that their helmets are standard, but also ensure that people are rightfully wearing these helmets that have potential to save their lives and also avert serious injuries. And from here, we are seeing governments such as Kenya, that has committed now to finance through that government pipeline a helmet testing lab in Kenya as well. We are seeing Uganda right now starting the conversations on how they can create stakeholder buy-in for the government now to finance a helmet testing lab in the country. So financing is a big issue, but through demonstration programs such as this, once you identify the gap, you make a business case for it, and you work with the government to learn from where these have been able to create impact, you see that there is increasing interest as well as some bit of financial commitment to such issues. When we look at the other thematic area we have as a foundation is the Equity Initiative, where we are focusing on vulnerable populations. These include children, they include youth, they include persons with disabilities. Within the transport sector, vulnerable road users are usually at the bottom of the priority list when it comes to the way roads are designed. I've had the privilege of being in more than 20 countries on the African continent, and we suffer from the same issue: no sidewalks, lack of modal separation on our roads. This leaves the vulnerable, the elderly, the children, and persons with disability left out, not only in accessing education, health service, but also accessing economic opportunities. So through our equity initiative, we are able to inspire commitment, financial commitment from different governments to rethink how they want to invest, to rethink how they want to design their roads, and most importantly, to rethink what the best business case is for them when it comes to their national priorities and budgets. Then also to spark the financial interest, we are looking at global and regional thematic partnerships and coalitions. I'll give an example of the 1.8 billion Young People for Change campaign. This was a campaign that was led by the World Health Organization in collaboration with the FIF Foundation and Botna Foundation. And the beauty of this global campaign was it sparked government interest in investing in adolescent well-being. The shortfall in this is most countries were not prioritizing road safety as an adolescent health issue. And that is where by then I was still working as a youth ambassador at the FIA Foundation. My role was to talk to different governments and make sure that road safety is recognized and therefore factored into the adolescent health agenda, which ripples down into budget allocation to road safety. And that is the other strategy we look to as the FIA Foundation is how do we mainstream road safety in all these different national agendas and priorities that countries have right now. Road traffic crashes is the number one killer for young people, but most countries do not recognize this. So by understanding where their interest is and mainstreaming road safety through that lens, we are able to acquire increased interest in terms of financial investment. So basically, to wrap it up, for us, what sparks our interest as the FIA Foundation is where is the gap? Where can we do most impact and who is most vulnerable? Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Olivia. And I appreciate though you walked us through the different components of road safety and how you're addressing it. I, for one, have been on pikis in Tanzania and on the islands of Lake Victoria, so I kind of understand when you're talking about it. I've experienced it. And I think when I think of road safety, I think of uh, connected vehicles and I think of the future, right? Autonomous vehicles are where we are heading in terms of making roads safer, connected vehicles that help us understand better and be more safer on the road. And with that, I would like to bring in Linda. Linda, from your research background and the work that you've been doing, um, I want to understand how do you think one should approach a policymaker? That is one. Or they should approach the second, which is an industry donor like FIA Foundation. Or if you want to approach, let's say, a billionaire, I would not name who, but if you want to approach them for connected vehicles research, how would you look at it from first a PhD candidate lens, and then second, let's say you're a startup working in the space. So how would you approach it to secure funding and make it mainstream?
No, that's a great question. Thank you for the question, Shashank. I appreciate it. And yeah, so for those of you who are not familiar, I'm from the Bay Area. So if you've ever been to the Bay Area, you might have like ridden or seen Waymos everywhere. I think now they've increased their fleets, and I think they have over 700 Waymo vehicles that are operating in San Francisco. The thing is that the county is currently facing, and they're actually also having arguments with the billionaire who you may be familiar with as well, in terms of getting regulations and policies in place. And so the big question that I've seen that's been going around is how can we ensure safety on our roadways, but at the same time not stunt companies from being able to do what they do, which is be able to innovate, because that's been another benefactor as well too, is that we have these autonomous vehicles that can bring safety, that can make our roads safer. But if we do not regulate it in a way that is, standardized and uniform, then it can introduce a lot of complications. And we've seen that. Right now, there's a race with different OEMs and getting like level 4, level 5 autonomy. But different OEMs operate very differently. As we know, their methodologies in programming their vehicles and their models are different. There is also questions on how can we ensure emergency response are not impeded on the roadways, because already in San Francisco, you may have seen in the news, some autonomous vehicles have impeded emergency responders from being able to get to where they need to be. And from one of my research experience, one of the results that we got was we took a look at the crash data that was happening and this is publicly available. If you just type in California autonomous vehicle crashes by the DMV, you'll get publicly available data of all the crashes of autonomous vehicles. They have to report every single crash. But the thing about this is, from what I was reading on the guidelines, this is like self-reported by the autonomous vehicle. So it's not a police report. So you don't know like how truthful it is. And so we also have to ensure accountability. So yeah, there is that balance of how do we ensure standards, like OEMs meet all these standards in a uniform way, to not upset agencies, local agencies that are trying their best to also manage the roadways. But at the same time, how do we also not prevent, companies from being able to do what they do best, which is innovate, startups to be able to do what they do. So we want to be able to invite those things. And in our results, we found that from all the autonomous vehicle crashes, a lot of the crashes were happening on the rear end of autonomous vehicles, and some were in the front, and based off of the camera crashes as well too. So that tells us that a lot of these crashes are happening from human distracted driving still, that are not paying attention to the road. So people are saying, oh, it's the autonomous vehicle's fault that these crashes are happening. Well, based on the data, it's actually the human drivers that are crashing into these vehicles. And in some cases, like Los Angeles, they're getting riders that are like, damaging the vehicles. And so it's really more so about how can we ensure safety uniformly. And the more autonomous vehicles there are, I do believe that the more they can communicate with each other, not only just the vehicles themselves, but in the infrastructure, then we can provide that safety overall.
Thanks, Linda, for that. I think it's a very exciting space that you're working in. Just imagining the liability issues from a company lens or a startup lens or a public lens becomes challenging when you put in autonomous vehicles, right? And with that, I'd like to go to Ray and Jamie both with a question, which is, as a policymaker, how do you plan on a smart infrastructure or new materials coming in for maybe, let's say, the helmet example Olivia gave? If you have to approve a helmet, uh, obviously you would have crash testings and stuff, but then what kind of policy guidelines do you look for in smart infra? And then if you want to look at road safety interventions. So I would love to hear from Ray, from you first, from a policymaker's lens, and then Jamie from your lens as to if you have to solve that challenge, how would you approach it?
Thank you, Shashank. Actually, in the Philippines, we have in our region, we had some research and it's about 60% of all the road crashes, fatal road crashes, involve motorcycles. And we've been looking at, compliance of helmets. And for countries like, like mine, it's usually a problem also of the prevalence of not so quality helmets. That's one. And the second one is also on the human behavior side, wherein people just simply do not want to wear helmets because they're either uncomfortable, maybe they feel warm because, of course, in the Philippines, it's a tropical country. So if you have like a whole head with a helmet, you would either have your windbreaker open also, which is also technically unsafe. So last September, I remember it was one of the emphasis of the UN Special Envoy for Road Safety, and he actually met with us, with our team, and he did emphasize that, we really have to find ways to implement the proper usage of helmets and to also ensure that the market would sell only quality helmets that are meeting the right standards. So that's one. Um, right now, it's also about the cost because we import a lot of helmets. Those are not really domestically manufactured. And because of that, of course, there are a lot of costs that we have to bear as well. And on the policy lens, there is a motorcycle law that requires people to wear helmets, but there is a weird dynamics in terms of local governance, wherein a national law still has to have a sort of a local law that has to be in place. And it has to be, you have to face the political consequences of those laws as well. So it's a bit tricky as well if you are not really selling the idea of safety, and it's a very difficult kind of concept to inculcate in countries like low middle income countries.
Jamie, over to you.
Yeah, sure. I'll probably take this from, I guess, a materials and innovation perspective, as that's my strong suit. But I guess one of the biggest challenges we have in bridging the gap between, a new innovation or a new technology and making sure that it's actually, able to be implemented effectively and safely is really oftentimes just awareness and confidence across the contractors and the asset owners about the new approach or the new technology. So as I mentioned before, we deliver a lot of research in recycled materials. We've also worked in sort of, AI-driven project management tools that look at cost overruns and sort of help contractors manage their construction projects, as well as some of our teams also do work in the safety space and develop kind of database tools that help just small local governments make really informed decisions about the road safety treatments that they're using. But even the most advanced sort of research in those spaces has little value if it's not understood and trusted and actually used by the people who are sort of on the ground. So one of the spaces that we work in really frequently is sort of what Olivia mentioned before with the pilot projects. So a lot of the time we work directly with governments or local councils or industry to sort of run those pilot projects, those field trials, so that we can kind of capture the data and the information needed about the technology or the method or the material to make sure people have the information they need to be able to use it and going forward. Some of the times we're trialing materials out in the real world, out in the field, but we also do have our lab sort of base testing that we can do to sort of simulate conditions. And then we even have a couple of accelerated loading facilities, which allows us to build sort of larger scale, test beds of a material or a new construction technology. And we can accelerate the trafficking and kind of get information about something in a pretty, I guess, accelerated perspective. But yeah, and oftentimes we also sort of pair that research with practical resources. So we've written, anything from sort of national guidelines on safety and pavement design and materials to, really targeted online training for, a small local council so that they have that information to be able to use the new recycled material and use the new technology and be able to implement it going forward. And one other thing I'll say is as well, a lot of the time we sort of design our projects in partnership with the governments or the clients that we're working with. So we have a lot of ongoing sort of research partnerships that we have with the transport jurisdictions in Australia and New Zealand, so that we can ensure that, you know, the work that we do is not only scientifically sound, but it's also something that really aligns with what the sector sort of actually needs, and something they can actually use. So through those partnerships, you know, we do, I guess, fundamentally link a plan for the future implementation from, you know, day one of a research project, so that by the end of the research, we actually have a vision and a strong basis for how it's going to be, you know, continued to be used moving forward. Yeah, that's probably all from me. Thanks.
Thanks, Jamie, on that. It's very interesting. When I quickly reflect on the conversation, I'm hearing some bits around how policymakers look at it. I'm listening to some bits around how to look at it, how to look at road safety and enable it, right? I think I would want to bring it back to the theme of this summit, which is young professionals. And as four young professionals working at different spheres, I would say the five of us looking at it from very different lens, right? A policymaker, a materials research specialist, someone working on the donor side, looking at how to accelerate awareness and interest in safety on the road with the policymakers and public, a researcher working extensively on autonomous vehicles, and an entrepreneur working on, looking at commercializing technology. I want to open a question first to all of you, which is, if I am a young mid 20-year-old, like early 20s person, and I want to get into this field, what should be my motivation right now, and what I should get into to build my career in? And we can go one at a time. People can hands up, or I can start calling everyone like a student and a teacher. Who would want to go first? So I'll start calling Olivia. Do you want to go first? And then we go to Jamie, Ray, and Linda.
Thank you. As a young person who is in their 20s, I think it takes me back to my earlier statement, is understanding the gaps within your community and what the priorities are, but also appreciating the fact that it doesn't need to be grand to create impact. So many times young people are waiting for that big boom, waiting for that big opportunity that will put them in the national platform. But you can start right from your community to create these impacts. I remember my first grant was $500 that I received. And I was supposed to do a project with $500. And I can assure you, with that project, we did a disability inclusive initiative, which brought together young people with disabilities and had them interacting with their stakeholders at district level and effecting structure change, such as environmental modifications on the journeys to school. So for me, that is the advice I would give young people. Think about small actions matter, and they can lead to very grand impact. And then also, networking is the new currency. So please reach out to your peers who are doing that kind of work you're looking up to, your stakeholders who inspire you to also make change. Be bold and approach them. If you see a concern in your community, be bold to use whatever mode of communication they listen to. These days we have social media. Young people are good at social media, but we also need to know that this is a tool we can use to force and collaborate with our stakeholders to do and create the impact we want to see in our communities. Thank you.
Thanks, Olivia. Jamie?
Yeah, so I think being drawn to the, sort of transport or the road sector, I think young people kind of do see an interest in it because we know that it's a critical infrastructure. Roads connect communities. In the Australian context, we have such a vast road network. It's so critical, and it obviously enables major economic functions. It's still one of the the key ways that freight is transported around Australia. Without our roads, we would not have any of the items that we have. So I think there's such a strong appeal in working in a space that you kind of can see that, as Olivia said, a small action has such a big impact on that critical industry. But yeah, there's also a real strong appeal, I think, in tackling sustainability challenges like decarbonisation and circular economy. It's always great to have an opportunity to be able to work in that space and know that it's going to have, an impact. And then at the same time, it's a good industry to get into as well because it's pretty secure. I think roads and transport's going to be around for a long time, so there is that opportunity for long-term career growth. It's kind of a stable space where, whilst you can keep evolving and keep innovating, that the roads are always gonna be there for quite a while. Yeah.
Awesome. Ray, over to you.
Yeah, well, in my case, I joined the government about 10 years ago, and I live by a friend who is currently, I think, a municipal councillor in his municipality. And he said, it still resonated to me, like, if you want something to change in the government, be that change. So, in my case, I've been very proactive and innovative in my ideas in the government. I never hold back. For my 5 years in the public works department, I was able to, put things forward to my bosses. And currently where I'm at, our team is taking the lead in looking at, road safety, for example, not just as a mobility or a transport issue, but a development issue as well. We take into account that, road crashes or road traffic injuries are not just the responsibility, for example, of road agencies, but it's actually a matter of coordination, for example, and collaboration with the government and also including stakeholders like from the private sector, young people, and alike. So, my advice for young people who's entering the transport space, be open and, collaborate all the time. And don't limit yourselves to working on initiatives. If you have ways to be that change in government, try to also enter government and work your way into the decision making table. And if it's not available, make your own chair. I'm telling you, it's really possible if you have the persistence. So, yeah, I hope that I inspired people from this session. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ray. Linda, over to you.
Yeah, Shashank, did you mention if you're like an 80-year-old person, like what advice would you give? Or was that the question?
The question was someone in their early 20s, if they are now
Oh, why
entering
did I
into
hear
this.
80? Okay. I was like,
No
whoa, that's
worries at
an
all.
interesting decade. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, I didn't wake up, thinking, I wasn't born thinking like, oh, I'm going to be a transportation engineer. I'm going to be in the transportation space. It wasn't really my first train of thought. The culmination of life series events kind of led me to where I am today. And so I would say it's kind of difficult to kind of tell everybody you got to do this one thing because that's going to be so unique to each person and their personality. So my biggest thing would be find your transportation story, whatever that transportation story is. It's going to be different for everybody. In some cases, like one of my friends that's also in the industry, she's in the industry because her grandpa died of a car crash, and so really her passion comes from someone that's personal to her and close to her that passed away. For me, I was inspired by my professor who talked about autonomous vehicles and then asked and kind of similar story of like, hey, here's a $500 if you like to do some, had did research with me in my undergraduate, and I did that, and I had a lot of fun doing that, and it got me to doing exploring in different conferences around the world and meeting many people. And so one thing after another kind of led me to where I am. So that would be kind of my advice to give everybody is that, find your unique transportation story that sticks out to you, that drives and fuels your passion in an industry. Because the last thing you want to do is be in an industry that you don't really know why you're there. You don't really know why you're waking up, doing your day-to-day activities. So once you find that meaning and purpose, then you'll be able to fuel your passion for doing things.
Awesome. I think my story is kind of similar to Linda's. I just kept following my heart and trying to figure out problems. And sadly, I entered into the road safety bit because I nearly lost a dear friend of mine to an accident. So the curiosity to solve things and an emotional moment sort of led me into this. I will not add any more. I think these 5 points are great. I'll just summarize them for everyone who wants to have a career in as a young professional entering into this space. from Olivia, look at your community. Start small. Don't think of going grand. Find a solution within your community and build for it. Also, something which I really loved what she said was networking is currency. Reach out to people, network. As the more people you network with, the more you learn. Easiest way to learn is from other people, not ChatGPT, is what I feel. Decarbonization and circular economy is something that Jamie came up with, and yeah, for sure, I think decarbonization in transport and circular economy go hand in hand. Ray gave out some really good quotes, which is be part of the change. And I'm slightly tweaking it, Ray, but yeah, be the part of the change and make your choice. Make your chair and take a choice and be part of that change by building your own chair if you have to. So yeah. And lastly, find your own story, find your own transportation story that inspires you, motivates you to get going. So yeah, I think that's a beautiful 5 points which everyone can focus on when they're thinking of building their career in transportation and road safety and autonomous vehicles or whatever sub part of this massive ecosystem you want to be a part of. And with that, I'll hand off to Mao. Mao, please come back.
I'm right here, Shashank. Don't worry. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to the panelists. This was an incredible discussion. I was sitting backstage and I was just in awe of these young professionals making waves, in their respective fields. And we were talking about different areas from research to policy making to funding to materials to inventions. Everything was covered. And it's just really inspiring to see young people, taking the reins and just as Ray mentioned, being the change. So thank you everyone for sharing your time. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. If you want to reach out to them, just send the chat over there because they can do, and we will be creating like sum ups of the sessions. So keep your eye out at the IRF channels and website. So we're going to be sharing that. So, we're moving on to the next portion of the Young Professional Summit. We've had like incredible discussions, we've had wonderful insights, and we've had amazing quotes from everyone. So, I'd like to bring back to the stage three young professionals from the leadership structure. So, we have Shashank, we have Tendikai, and we have Ray. And I'm really excited to be the one sharing this news with you guys because from next year we are going to be opening application the call for application for the new cohort of young professionals leaders because Ray, Shashank, and Tendikai have completed their 5-year stint and they've done incredible work. As you can see, as you've listened to them, they're not only, talking the talk, but they're also walking the walk when it comes to making change in transport and mobility as young professionals. So if you keep an eye out on our socials, we will send out details about the Young Professional Program leadership. And it's an incredible opportunity for everyone who wants to join. This is one of IRF's programs that supports young people who are kind of entering the mobility and transport fields. So we are offering lots of resources to you guys. We have knowledge, we have capacity development, we have opportunities to network. As Olivia said, network is currency. So this is going to be an incredible opportunity for you guys. And what I want to do is for you to hear it straight from the horse's mouth how incredible this opportunity is. So TK, Shashank, and Ray will be given a few minutes to share their experiences about the Young Professionals Network. So I'm gonna start with TK, then Shashank, then Ray. So thank you so much, guys. Let's listen to their testimonies. Go on, TK, floor is yours.
Thanks very much, Mao. I would say when I started, when I joined the Young Professionals, that's like 5 years ago. Yeah, I would say I was too raw in this space, and then joining these amazing young professionals made me grow professionally, especially building my transport knowledge through, IRIF Summit, Young Professional Summit, also through the annual conference, and also mostly I think what Olivia has mentioned, networking is currency. So yeah, it's really true. The opportunity was really good because I got to network, know people from all over the world, and yeah, I think that was my biggest takeaway of this program. Yeah, I will pass on to Shashank.
Thanks, Ray, TK, for that, and Ray for the 5 years. We have another young professional who's not here right now, Cecilia, so a shout out to her. It's been an amazing journey. I think I might get a little emotional there, so don't uh, pull my leg on that, guys. But I think in the 5 years, I've seen not just us evolve, but the community that we interact with evolve. We went from a bunch of people in our community to now a lot of people around the space who know us, who we've been talking to, who know about IRF Young Professionals. And I think within 5 years, the key takeaways for me will be I came into here wanting to understand what road safety is and how I can, as maybe a engineer, figure out a way to make it safer in India. And I'm now, when we're coming to a close in a couple of months, I'm going away knowing a lot about technology, a lot about connected vehicles, a lot about how policymakers think, a lot about how, as an engineer, I need to evolve, and how, as an entrepreneur, I need to navigate the landscape. And that's all primarily because of the Young Professionals program here. We had the opportunity last year to meet in person. So shout out to Gonzalo for making that happen. And yeah, it's been an amazing journey. I think I have some amazing YP leads with me who I'm gonna carry on with for the next, I don't know, n number of years till infinity. So with that, I'll pass it on to Ray. Ray.
Thank you, Shashank. Yeah, I remember it's quite a journey. I mean, I remember Tendekai was still based in Zimbabwe. Then I am in the Philippines. Then Tendekai moved to New Zealand. We struggled in meetings because, of course, New Zealand and Brazil are like the opposite sides of the world. And, it's really amazing. I don't know, I cannot explain how exciting the experience was working with people from all corners of the world. And it was a great opportunity to meet in person last year. Yeah. And for those who have been with the Young Professional Summit for the fifth, sixth, or I don't know how many times we had, the previous years were really quite a ride in organizing, and it's really where we develop our skills in networking as well, because we tried to face our fears and talk to people, email people, make Zoom calls to random people we haven't really met. And then those people now are within our network and we talk to each other, we collaborate. So that's really something that is worth, building in the Young Professionals program. And most especially if you're a young professional leader, you will be really tested to your limit to work with, go outside your comfort zone. So I think the three of us here, plus Cecilia, for example, and our also Frederick, for example, in the earlier years that we have as young professional leaders have really grown. And we can see that, each of us have really gone to whatever field we chose or the specialization in transport that we're in. So yeah, it's really a great experience. I cannot really, explain it, but it's super, super worth it. Thank you.
Yay! Thank you so much, guys, and thank you for all your hard work to make the IRF Young Professionals Network what it is. And everyone, I'd take this opportunity because, as Alice mentioned earlier, our Director General was previously a young professional. So who knows, in 30 years' time, you could be too. So yeah, take the chance. It's a really good opportunity, and we're doing lots of incredible work, and we'd love to have more young people involved, and it's gonna be amazing. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone who joined. Thank you everyone who spoke. It's been an incredible session, a good first session for the second day of the IRF annual conference. So now we're just about wrapping this up, and I just want to remind everyone that the next session is going to be happening at about 3:15 CET. So we're all going to be bringing you back to the lobby, and you can go back in about 30 minutes, and then the next session will start. And I invite you to invite others. If you have friends who you feel could do well with the sessions, please invite them over. The more the merrier. Take this time to stretch your legs, get some coffee, and we'll see you later. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining the Young Professional Summit, and see you again at the next session. Bye bye. Thank you.